The text message arrived at 3:17 p.m. on a Tuesday. I remember because I just finished my third cup of coffee, and the October sun was casting long shadows through my office window, making the dust particles dance like tiny messengers of what was to come. "We need to talk about Rachel. Call me back. Important." I stared at my phone, the name Dr. Hoffman glowing beneath the cryptic message. My daughter's pediatrician never texted me directly. Something cold and heavy settled in my chest as I dialed his number with trembling fingers. "Mr. Davidson? Thank you for calling back so quickly." His voice carried that careful, professional tone doctors use when they're about to shatter your world. "I'm concerned about some patterns I'm seeing with Rachel's recent visits." I gripped the edge of my desk. "What do you mean?" "This is the fourth time in 3 months your wife has brought Rachel in for emergency visits when you were traveling for work. Each time the symptoms she described were alarming. Fever spikes, severe abdominal pain, difficulty breathing. But upon examination, I found nothing significant." My mouth went dry. I I didn't know about any of these visits." A pause. "Mr. Davidson, when I mentioned running additional tests today, your wife became agitated and left abruptly. The nurse also noticed Rachel seemed confused when asked about her symptoms. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I'm legally obligated to report concerns about possible Munchausen by proxy," I whispered, the terrible phrase escaping before I could stop it. The room seemed to tilt sideways. "I'm not making any diagnoses," Dr. Hoffman said carefully, "but I would strongly recommend you come home and assess the situation today, if possible." I hung up and sat motionless, staring at the family photo on my desk. Me, Elaine, and our 9-year-old daughter Rachel, all smiles at last summer's lake house vacation. Had I missed something? Some sign that my wife of 12 years was, what? Fabricating our daughter's illnesses? For attention? The thought was so absurd I almost laughed. But I didn't laugh. Instead, I canceled my afternoon meetings, told my assistant I had a family emergency, and drove the 90 minutes home in complete silence. No radio, no calls, just the thundering of my own heartbeat in my ears. I should have known something was wrong when I pulled into our driveway at 5:03 p.m. and saw that Elaine's car wasn't there. Rachel's school let out at 3:30, and Elaine always picked her up, always. Using my key, I entered our house, the sprawling colonial we'd bought 4 years ago when my investment firm made me partner. The silence hit me first. No TV cartoon sounds, no piano practice, no chattering voice of my daughter telling her mother about her day. "Rachel? Elaine?" My voice echoed through the foyer. Nothing. I took the stairs 2 at a time, my heart racing. Rachel's bedroom door was open, her backpack tossed on her bed, homework half finished on her desk. So she had been home. Where were they now? That's when I noticed it. Elaine's home office door was closed. In 10 years of marriage, I'd never once seen that door closed when she wasn't inside working. It was one of her little quirks. She hated the idea of a closed, empty room. The knob turned easily in my hand. The office looked normal at first glance. Desktop computer humming, family photos arranged precisely on bookshelves, color-coded files in perfect order. Elaine had always been methodical to the point of obsession. I'm not sure what made me check her desk drawer. Maybe it was the faint scent of her perfume still lingering in the air, suggesting she'd been there recently. Maybe it was just instinct. The drawer slid open smoothly to reveal her personal planner, the leather-bound one she insisted on keeping despite having everything digitally synced. And there it was, not hidden, not locked away. Just sitting there in plain sight, as if she never imagined I would look. Tuesday, 2:30 p.m. Rachel Dr. H, breathing. Below that, 5:30 p.m., meet Jay at the cabin. Jay. The cabin. My mind raced back through fragments of conversations, offhand comments, weekends when Elaine claimed to be visiting her sister. Like pieces of a horrible puzzle clicking into place, I suddenly remembered the cabin, a property owned by her colleague Jason, about whom she'd spoken with increasing frequency over the past year. With shaking hands, I opened her planner to previous weeks, scanning backwards through time. A pattern emerged. So obvious it felt like a slap. Every business trip I took coincided with doctor visits for Rachel, followed by meetings with Jay. The rational part of me said there could be explanations. The husband in me didn't want to believe. But the father in me was terrified. I called Rachel's phone. No answer. I texted Elaine. Where are you and Rachel? Call me ASAP. So, no response. My next call was to my brother Michael, a detective with the county sheriff's department. I need help, I said when he answered. I think Elaine might be hurting Rachel. The cabin sat at the end of a gravel road, hidden behind tall pines, about an hour north of our home. Michael had tracked the location from a description I gave him, and now we sat in his unmarked car about 100 yards away, watching. That's her car, I said, pointing to the Volvo SUV parked beside a black Tesla. The Tesla must be Jason's. Michael nodded grimly. And you're sure Rachel is with them? Her backpack was at home, but she wasn't. Where else would she be? Let me handle this, Michael said, checking his service weapon out of habit. If what you suspect about the medical visits is true, we need to be careful how we approach this. Child Protective Services is already en route. The wait was excruciating. 23 minutes that felt like years, watching shadows move behind curtain windows, imagining what might be happening to my daughter. Was she sick? Scared? Was she even aware something was wrong? When the CPS car pulled up behind us, Michael briefed the two social workers quickly. They would approach first, with Michael following. I was to stay back until they assessed the situation. I nodded my agreement, then promptly ignored it the moment they started walking toward the cabin. There was no force on earth that could have kept me in that car. I was close enough to hear the knock, to see the door swing open, to watch Jason's face transform from annoyance to shock as he registered the official visitors. Close enough to hear Elaine's voice from somewhere inside. Who is it, honey? Honey. The word hit me like a physical blow, but I kept moving, pushing past the protests of the social workers, past my brother's restraining hand, through the doorway where Jason stood, frozen in shock. And there they were, my wife and my daughter, sitting at a rustic dining table strewn with art supplies. Rachel looked up, her face brightening. Daddy, you came too. We're making surprise presents. Elaine's face drained of color. Mark, this isn't... I can explain... But there was nothing to explain. The scene told its own story. The comfortable familiarity of my daughter in these surroundings. The way Jason instinctively moved to stand beside Elaine. The framed photos on the mantel that I could see from where I stood. Photos of the three of them together, smiling in various locations I didn't recognize. Mr. Davidson, one of the social workers said gently, we need to speak with your daughter privately. I nodded, unable to form words, watching as they led a confused Rachel to another room. Michael took charge then, explaining why they were there, reading rights, asking clinical questions that made the blood roar in my ears. I faced my wife across the room that had become her second home. How long? I asked, my voice barely audible. Mark. How long? She squared her shoulders, defiance replacing her initial shock. 2 years. But it's not what you think about Rachel. I would never hurt her. You've been taking her to doctors for fake emergencies, I said. Dr. Hoffman called me. Those visits were necessary, she snapped. You were never there when she needed you. Someone had to be the concerned parent. Jason stepped forward. Elaine, don't say anything else without a lawyer. I turned to him, this stranger who had been playing father to my child. And you? Did you know she was using our daughter as, what, a cover story? A prop in whatever this is? He looked away, and that was answer enough. The next weeks passed in a blur of legal meetings, psychological evaluations, and temporary custody arrangements. The evidence mounted quickly. Elaine had been fabricating or exaggerating Rachel's symptoms for years, dragging her to different doctors whenever one became suspicious, always timing the most dramatic episodes for when I was away on business. Not for attention from medical professionals, as classic Munchausen by proxy would suggest, but for something perhaps more insidious, to create opportunities to be with Jason while maintaining her image as a devoted mother. Rachel was both her excuse and her alibi. The journal entries were the most damning. Elaine had meticulously documented her deceptions in a password-protected file I found on her computer. April 15th. Told Mark that Rachel had strep throat. Took her to Dr. Simmons for follow-up while Mark was in Chicago. Met Jay afterward. Rachel enjoyed the ice cream bribe. June 3rd. School called about Rachel's stomach pain. Thank you, drama classes. Picked her up early. Spent afternoon at the cabin. Told Mark she needed rest. Page after digital page of calculated manipulation, using our daughter as a pawn in her elaborate double life. The divorce proceedings were fast-tracked when my attorney presented this evidence. What might have been a standard no-fault dissolution became something else entirely, a case study in parental psychological abuse. Your wife's actions constitute a severe form of child endangerment, my lawyer explained during one of our meetings. Subjecting a minor to unnecessary medical procedures and examinations, coaching her to fake symptoms, disrupting her education with false illnesses. It's all documented in her own words. The psychological damage alone. I couldn't bear to hear more. Just tell me what happens now. Well, the temporary restraining order is already in place. Given the evidence, I'm confident we can secure full custody with supervised visitation at most for your wife. As for the financial settlement, he shuffled some papers. Her infidelity combined with child endangerment essentially invalidates any claim to equitable distribution in this state. The house, investments, retirement accounts, they should all remain with you. I didn't care about the money. I cared about Rachel. The court-appointed child psychologist confirmed what I had desperately hoped. Rachel had been largely shielded from understanding what was happening. To her, the doctor visits were just annoying interruptions before fun, secret adventures with Mom. She knew nothing of the fabricated symptoms. Elaine had told her they were checkups that all children needed, and the coaching to act sick had been framed as pretend games. Children are remarkably resilient, the psychologist assured me. With proper support and therapy, Rachel should recover fully from this experience. I wanted to believe her. The final court date arrived on a gray December morning, exactly 2 months after that text message that had changed everything. I sat beside my attorney watching as Elaine entered with her legal team. She'd lost weight, and dark circles shadowed her eyes. For a brief moment, I felt a flicker of the love I'd once had for her, the brilliant, beautiful woman I'd married, now reduced to this hollow shell. Then I remembered the journal entries, the calculated deception, using our child. The judge was a stern woman in her 60s who had reviewed all evidence before the hearing. Her summary was brief and devastating. This court has rarely seen such a disturbing combination of infidelity, deception, and medical child abuse. Mrs. Davidson, your methodical exploitation of your daughter's well-being to facilitate an extramarital affair demonstrates a profound moral failure as both a spouse and a parent. Elaine stared straight ahead, her face expressionless. The court hereby grants full custody of the minor child Rachel Davidson to her father, Mark Davidson. Mrs. Davidson, you will have no visitation rights until completion of comprehensive psychological evaluation and treatment, at which time supervised visitation may be considered. The gavel fell like a thunderclap. Furthermore, given the evidence of financial deception and the psychological harm inflicted upon the child, the court finds in favor of the plaintiff regarding all property distribution. The family home, vehicles, and all joint financial assets will remain with Mr. Davidson. More legal language followed, but I barely heard it. It was over. We had won, if you could call any of this winning. As we left the courtroom, Elaine tried to approach me, but my attorney stepped between us. "Mark, please," she called out. "You can't keep Rachel from me forever. I'm still her mother." I turned back, meeting her eyes one last time. "No, Elaine. A mother wouldn't use her child as a prop in her affair. A mother wouldn't subject her daughter to needless medical anxiety for years. You're many things, but right now, mother isn't one of them." I walked away as she called after me, her voice breaking. I didn't look back. That was 18 months ago. Rachel is 11 now and thriving. The therapy helped us both navigate the new reality of our lives. She still asks about her mom sometimes, and I always answer honestly but age appropriately. Elaine has completed her court-ordered treatment program and now has monthly supervised visits, brief encounters that leave Rachel confused but are necessary for her long-term emotional health, according to her therapist. As for me, I've changed too. I cut back my work hours dramatically, rearranged my priorities. No business trip is worth missing another moment of my daughter's childhood. We've established new traditions, new routines. The house that once felt haunted by betrayal is slowly becoming just our home again. Last week, Rachel brought home an essay she'd written for school titled My Hero. I expected it to be about some YouTube star or athlete. Instead, I found myself staring at these words. My hero is my dad. 2 years ago, everything in our life changed, and he could have fallen apart. Instead, he learned to make pancakes on Saturdays and braid my hair for school. He comes to every soccer game and helps with my science projects. He teaches me that when bad things happen, you don't give up. You just find a new way to be happy. I cried when I read it, not the quiet tears of grief that had become my nighttime companion for months after the divorce, but healing tears. Tears that washed away a little more of the pain. The paper trail that Elaine left, her journal, the medical records, the photographs, they provided the legal victory that protected Rachel. But the real victory comes each day, in small moments. Homework at the kitchen table, movie nights with popcorn fights, the gradual return of Rachel's carefree laugh. Some people ask if I'm angry at Elaine. The truth is complicated. The betrayal cut deep. Not just the affair, but the calculated use of our child, the years of deception. Yet holding on to that anger would only steal more from Rachel and me. So I'm learning to release it, day by day. If there's a lesson in all of this, maybe it's that the evidence of who someone truly is isn't found in grand declarations or carefully curated social media posts. It's in the paper trail we all leave behind, the small choices, the patterns, the moments when we think no one is watching. And maybe there's another lesson too, that sometimes the family you rebuild from the ashes of betrayal can be stronger than the one you thought was perfect. Rachel's calling me now. Something about a science project involving baking soda volcanoes that will definitely make a mess of the kitchen. I'm setting down this journal and going to help her. The paper trail I want to leave for my daughter is one of presence, of showing up, of choosing her every single day. That's the only evidence that really matters in the end. If you've experienced family trauma or suspect child abuse in any form, please reach out for help. And if you found yourself rebuilding after betrayal, know that you're not alone. Share your story in the comments below.